London Real, sponsored by Bulletproof Coffee.
And in a nutshell, what were they trying you for, and what were you actually revealing to the public?
Well, it's important for your audience to appreciate. I was actually the first whistleblower since Dan Ellsberg of Pentagon Papers fame,
which is
charged in like manner. That was early 1970s, in which he actually went to trial facing 115 years. In my case, I was charged with espionage, just like Ellsberg, as well as obstruction of justice and making false statements, which in themselves were false to FBI agents. I was facing 35 years plus in prison if I'd been found guilty on all 10 felony counts. This was under the Obama administration, and this was really the opening shot, which is we're going to send the most chilling of messages, that if you dare hold up a mirror to the government, if you dare speak truth to power or of power, we're going to hammer you and hammer you good. But the media themselves, and this is Jesselyn herself leading my defense in the court of public opinion, it took many, many months to counter the meme that I was a leaker, that I was endangering national security, and that I was actually a whistleblower, that what I was blowing the whistle on was government illegality, violations of the Constitution, massive fraud, waste, and abuse and wrongdoing. And that even the major media finally came around. In fact, there was 2 blockbuster Washington Post op-eds on the eve of my public trial, editorials, that actually made the cases, wait a minute, government, maybe you were overreaching here just a bit. Maybe he is a whistleblower. Oh no, by the way, and this is hearkening back to the 1970s, which the Post was the paper of record for all of the revelations about Watergate,
right,
with Bernstein and Woodward, right?
I mean, without that paper, then there would be no Watergate, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so they published these really powerful editorials saying, hey, we do have an interest in government affairs. It is in the public interest. And that was quite significant for the Post as the paper of record to say so. And so I ended up vindicated. I was able to hold them off. That certainly didn't stop the government. And I didn't end up in prison, nor did I pay a fine.
But at the same point, the government didn't take any PR hits necessarily for that. I mean, as far as you can't really chalk it up as necessarily a win for you because they didn't have any repercussions on the back of that.
Well, I think in a way, I do think it was a win for Tom because actually the judge chastised the prosecution publicly, and that got a lot of media attention and said, you made this man's life, you put him through 4 years of living hell, and you were acting like the British with general warrants coming and trashing his house and treating him like a criminal when he had done absolutely nothing like what you said in the indictment. So Judge Bennett, who was actually a Bush appointee, actually a conservative judge, because of that very powerful statement, I think that got a certain amount of media attention. But I think in Tom's case, in Snowden's case, in all these Espionage Act prosecutions of whistleblowers, you have to win not just in the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion, because the very fact that they charge whistleblowers with espionage automatically paints them as traitors and enemies of the state. And therefore you have this weird, messed up dichotomy, false dichotomy with Bradley Manning, with Ed Snowden, and with Tom at the time of hero or traitor. And it's neither. There are whistleblowers who revealed information that evidenced at a minimum, stuff embarrassing to the United States, but actually, in fact, stuff that was quite illegal and that was in the public interest to know.
And when the judge lambasts the government for this kind of case, are there any repercussions there? The
judge can impose sanctions. He did not. The judge can ask the Department of Justice to take a look at it, to refer to the Office of Professional Responsibility. That didn't happen, but even if it did, OPR wouldn't do anything in terms of reining in the attorneys. In fact, I think the prosecuting attorney had been one of the attorneys on the Ted Stevens case, which he completely botched, and which was completely overturned, right? And then he suffered no repercussions. He had to go back to wherever he was from and spend some time with his family. But then, for unknown reasons, this very problematic prosecutor, Bill Welsh, was brought back in and given the portfolio of leakers to prosecute, under the Espionage Act.
This week on London Real, we have astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I wake up every morning astonished that an astrophysicist can have 1.7 million Twitter followers. The cosmos is anything where it's a frontier of human knowledge of how the world works. There's so many forces that want to deny a scientific truth just because it conflicts with their ideology. I thought of myself, because I could wrestle, as sort of a defender of geeks. There is no teacher in any time in my life, from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond, who ever would have said, he'll go far. And the act of finding out is the lesson, not the lesson itself.
On Sunday, London Real presents Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmos.
I'm happy to report that there's an appetite for the cosmos out there.